King's Fall was released 2 weeks ago, and it's been about 2 weeks for them to declassify the weapons in the API. And now that they have, I can definitively go through and review every single weapon and all of their perks to determine which are good, which are trash, and which are just okay. So without further ado, let's just get into the review. I'm not gonna ruin this with semantics. Let's just get into it. First up is the Smite of Moraine Pulse Rifle. It is an adaptive frame with a RPM of 390 and a mag size of 38. Now, the Smite of Moraine is becoming people's favorites as it's just a good pulse rifle to have in PvP, and for good reason. The perks are kind of good on it, so let's get a look at those. We have Ensemble, Moving Target, Pugilist, Demo, Well-Rounded, Focused Fury, and Stats for All. Pugilist being a perk where final blows with the weapon will generate melee energy, and dealing melee damage will briefly improve the weapon's handling. And then we have Eye of the Storm, Gut Shot, Swashbuckler, Adrenaline Junkie, Firefly, Vorpal, and One for All. Gut Shot is a perk where increased body shot damage occurs at the cost of target acquisition. Now, how much target acquisition? 35%. You lose 35% of your aim assist for 20% increase or 10% increase for your body shots. I think this perk is trash. Don't even use it. It is literally not even worth it. Any perk that encourages you to go for body shots as opposed to headshots are not that good in my opinion. So just don't get it. Then we have Swashbuckler, Adrenaline Junkie, Firefly, Vorpal, and One for All. Smite of Moraine's perks are pretty meh, but the combos that you can do with those perks for this current season with the Arc 3.0 and all that crap, Pugilist Swashbuckler immediately comes to mind with melee being an incredible focus in Arc 3.0. Demo and Adrenaline Junkie can also have a place. Focused Fury is also just a good perk as well as One for All. So in general, this weapon just has a lot going for it. But on top of that, every King's Fall weapon has a perk called Runneth Over, where reloading near your allies will overflow the magazine. And depending on how many allies you are nearby, it'll give you more ammo. Now this is going to become incredibly important for guns later on, but for Smite of Moraine, it's pretty nice. You get like 54 shots in the magazine, I think. And overall, it's just a good gun. Next up is my personal favorite for no reason whatsoever, is Doom of Chelchis. Now, I love Doom of Chelchis back in D1, and they made some very interesting perk changes to this gun, and I'm pretty sure some would already see the correlation here. So, before we get into that, let's start with the perks. We have Rangefinder, Steady Hands, Adaptive Munitions, Stats for All, Explosive Payload, Firefly, and Vorpal Weapon. Then we have Eye of the Storm, Unrelenting, Repulsor Brace, One for All, Frenzy, Focused Fury, and Dragonfly. Now, you guys can already see Firefly and Dragonfly being an interesting combo. However, they kind of counteract each other with a lot of builds. Now, Doom of Chelchis is a Void 180. Now, the thing with Firefly is it does purely solar damage. And when you have Dragonfly paired with that, it gives you a bigger and more potent explosion radius. However, it just completely destroys any elemental will builds or whatever you want to do with it. So it's honestly not that good if you're trying to do build crafting, but for general play, I'd say it's. Then you have things like Frenzy and Explosive Payload, already two amazing perks. You even have One for All, just in case you want some of that as well for GMs, because Frenzy can be a little weird to proc in GMs. Yeah, it's just a really good scout. And for PvP, you have things like Rangefinder, Eye of the Storm, Steady Hands, Eye of the Storm. You could make a case for Repulsor Brace if you're weird, I don't know. But honestly, it's just a good gun. And with Runneth Over having almost like 25 shots when you reload at peak, it's just really good. It's so good. If anything, just get Explosive Payload Frenzy, but if you want to have some fun, try the Firefly Dragonfly. It's honestly really worth it. Next up, we have Zoes Bane. Now, this is what a lot of people are going out over, and it is a 140 as opposed to its 120 that it used to be, with a mag size of 10, which is kind of sad. You have the mag size of a 120 with the RPM of 140, which is kind of weird, but I'm not going to say much. As far as perks, we have Ensemble, Hipfire Grip, Gut Shot Straight, Pugilist, Opening Shot, Well-Rounded, and Explosive Payload. And then you have Surrounded, Eye of the Storm, Demo, Focused Fury, Firefly, One for All, and Incandescent. You can already see the correlation here. So people are calling this the Legendary Sunshot. And it's not as potent. Incandescent is not a very potent explosion. However, it is very much a Legendary Sunshot. You have the increased range and a tiny AoE effect of Explosive Payload, and then you have Incandescent for Scorching for solar builds. It's incredibly good. I'm just going to tell you straight up, this one build is still just, it's so good. For build crafting, like Elemental Well builds and stuff like that, it's just really good. Now, aside from that, every other perk is kind of not that great. Gut Shot Straight, like I said, is a bait perk. It is literal trash tier on the bottom of my boot. It is incredibly bad. Then you have Hipfire Grip and Ensemble, which are also just kind of meh perks. I don't know who's hip firing a 140. The only perks I can really recommend are Well-Rounded, Opening Shot, and Pugilist. Well-rounded in PvP, mostly. As far as the second column, you do have a bit more leeway. You have Demo, Focus, Fury, One for All, Firefly if you want to be cool. You could go for the Fatebringer role of Firefly Explosive Payload. But for the most part, in PvE, it's just not that great, especially because you could be using Doom of Chelchis. I'm a little biased. But I think the Legendary Sunshot build is incredibly unique, and I really, really like it. And the perk of Runneth Over can easily fix that mag size issue. You could even put on a backup mag if you wanted to be real funny. But we're not at the cream of the crop yet. We have one god tier weapon, Midas Reckoning. Now this is a high impact fusion with a charge time of 960 and a mag size of 55. Now the thing with this gun is all the perks are okay. We've got Hipfire Grip, Cornered, Field Prep, Well-Rounded, Backup Plan, Pugilist, and Unrelenting. That's a pretty good set. You have Surrounded, Kickstart, which is a new perk, where you gain bonus damage and charge rate during a slide after you sprint for a short duration. You gain 20% more damage and 100 millisecond faster charge time. That's really good, especially when you pair it with Hipfire Grip. You have Tap the Trigger, Golden Tricorn, Vorpal, Successful Warm-Up, and the cream of the crop in terms of just really good fusion rifle perks, Reservoir Burst. Now all these perks are really, really good. You know, other guns can get Reservoir Burst. It's not like this is anything special. Oh no, it's special. We have Runneth Over. And if you increase your mag size, Runneth Over goes even further with its potential. So you could get some of these magazine increasing perks, like Ionized Battery, and then put backup mag on it for a really high mag size. So just to illustrate my point, you have 8 shots in the magazine, and then when you pair it with Runneth Over, you can get like 13 shots in your mag, which means you're gonna have 5 shots of Reservoir Burst, which is reminding you it is a 25% damage increased on every bolt that you fire, and it causes targets to explode when they die. So you have 5 back-to-back 25% increased damage shots, and then you just have the inherent high impact damage of this fusion. It's so damn powerful. And if you want to be even funnier, you can give yourself more ammo with Field Prep and have a complete field day with this. You have 30% increased inventory size, or 40% if you get the enhanced perk. This is genuinely, in my opinion, the best special weapon out of the 2 that we get. I think this is honestly a runner-up for the best fusion rifle in the game right now. As far as other perk combinations are concerned though, you do have some really good synergy with Hipfire Grip and Kickstart, seeing as you have to slide, and while you're sliding you have to shoot. having that hip fire grip and being able to shoot during your slide to get that increased charge time and damage is incredibly useful. You can have things also like Golden Tricorn and Well-Rounded for some of that ability synergy as well. You can also have Successful Warm-Up, where each final blow will increase your charge and your charge time. It's a good gun. Not even good. I'd say this is fucking S tier. And now we're going to move on to the overshadowed brother of the special weapon category for this raid. Defiance of Jasmine. Now, Defiance of Jasmine, on the surface, isn't that great. It's a 90 RPM sniper rifle, which is the same, I believe, as Succession, with a 4-round magazine, and it's a kinetic, so it's in direct competition with Succession. Now, where this does really stand out is where the perks are. You have No Distractions, Osmosis, Shoot to Loot, Lead from Gold, Firefly, Ensemble, and Snapshot Sights. The only thing that really matters here for PvP and PvE, Lead from Gold, Snapshot. You're not using Firefly, and you're not using Shoot to Loot. You're just not. Maybe you're using Shoot to Loot, I don't know. If you are, stay away from me. In the second column, we have Demo, Moving Target, Slick Draw, which will increase your handling, but decrease your target acquisition. This is really good for those aggressive playstyles in PvP. Then you have Firing Line, Opening Shot, Vorpal Weapon, and Focused Fury. Now, all of these perks are kind of mid. Now, one thing people will notice is that we have Firing Line, but we don't have Triple Tap, we don't have 4 times, we don't have Clown Cartridge. Wait a minute. Yes, we do. We do have Clown Cartridge, and it's intrinsic to the gun. So instead of wasting a perk slot on Triple Tap or Clown Cartridge, you could be getting Lead from Gold to give you more ammo for this gun. Now, the problem is, like I said, it's in direct competition with Succession, the same archetype, the same damage type. It's the same. Maybe it's not, I just read Adaptive Frame, maybe it's not the same archetype, but it's in the same slot. So it's going to be competing with things like Izanagi's Burden. It's going to be competing with Succession. So the competition is really steep. But what I really think makes this gun stand out is the Runneth Over perk. If you increase the mag size and give it Tactical Mag, you could genuinely have some really good damage output with Runneth Over and Firing Line, and you could have more ammo with Lead from Gold. I think that's incredibly good. As far as PvP goes, you have Snapshot Opening Shot. You basically win. You don't need anything else. You could make a case for Moving Target or Slick Draw, but for the most part, snipers in PvP, Snapshot Opening Shot, Kinetic, with Tac Mag in general. So, Defiance of Jasmine, while not as good in my opinion in PvE as Midas Reckoning, is a still incredibly valuable pick, simply for the reason of Firing Line plus Intrinsic Clown Cartridge. Quillam's Terminus. Oh my boy, how the mighty have fallen. So for those of you who don't know, Quillam's Terminus was the primo machine gun in Destiny 1, and in Destiny 2, we have a lot of machine guns. We don't really need Quillam's right now. And the fact that they were nerfed on major and boss damage, being used explicitly for ad clear, this gun has kind of fallen from grace. It is a high impact frame with a mag size of 44. With Runneth Over on base mag capacity, you would get around 60 shots with the gun. Now, this gun is going to be explicitly used for ad clear. Do not even try to use it for anything else, because you won't get far. And when you go into that, with that kind of mindset, you have some really not that bad perks. You have Ensemble, Unrelenting, Slick Draw, Firmly Planted, Heating Up, Stats for All, and Dynamic Sway. Kind of a bad column in my opinion, but we do have things like Wellspring, Eye of the Storm, Firefly, Headstone, Focused Fury, Firing Line, and Killing Tally. Hello! Now you already know people are going to cop Killing Tally, Stats for All, just because it's good. Like, yeah, that's just how it's going to go. You could also make a point for Heating Up if you wanted to. It's just really good. However, where I think this gun kind of stands above the rest is the fact that it has Headstone and Firefly. Now, Firefly is an incredibly potent explosion, and also the fact that it's a high impact, it will one-shot most trash mobs to the head, meaning you will be proccing Firefly constantly. I think it's incredibly good. You could also make a case for Headstone. The same reason. Headstone will proc constantly over and over. And if you pair that with stasis builds, which are not very potent right now, but if you can make it work, it could genuinely be a monster. And the mag size is increased by Runneth Over, as well as having things like Appended or Tac Mag to help you out on that as well. So Quillam's Terminus, while it's not great, like I don't think you should deliberately go out and get this gun. I do think if you get one with Firefly Headstone, heating up stats for all, it's pretty good. Like, it's honestly just good. It's not that bad. Granted, you are in direct competition with the Season of the Plunder, so LMG, with things like Pugilist, Swashbuckler, and Grave Robber, which are way more in line with this current season's meta with melee attacks and Arc 3.0. But Quillam's Terminus is just really good. That's all I'm going to say. It's not better than anything, but it's also not worse than anything explicitly. And that is all the King's Fall weapons. If you really wanted me to put them in a tier list, I'm going to rank them right now off the top of my head without even thinking that hard. So, number 1, Midas Reckoning. Easy. That Reservoir Burst build is incredibly potent with Runneth Over, and I just think it's really good. It's the best high-impact fusion we have in the game. Then, I'm going to put Doom of Chelchis just because of how diverse the perks are. Granted, scouts are not the cream of the crop this current season, but having Firefly Dragonfly or having Explosive Payload Frenzy are just incredibly good. And with Anti-Barrier being the scout right now, it's really good for GMs. So I highly recommend getting this gun. Number 3, Smite of Moraine. Now, I put it here mainly because it is a 390 pulse, yes, but the perks are just kind of weird. You've got like 2 perk combos that are actually good. The rest are kind of meh. You can make a case for 1 for all, stats for all, but I don't know, man. Like, I'm just not using a kinetic pulse rifle a lot of the time. That's replacing my Witherhoard, my Izanagi, my Defiance of Jasmine because I'm a boomer. Everything, man. It's a good gun, but in PvE specifically, it's not that great. And you have a lot of competition with PvP as well. So I'm not too sure. Next up, for some reason, I'm going to put Zoes Bane at number 4. I put this at number 4 simply because there is one perk set that is explicitly good. Explosive Payload Incandescent. That's the Sunshot build, it's really good, and is the only perk set I can reckon actually being good for a primary hand cannon. Because if I wanted a good primary hand cannon, I would just use any other one that has 1 for all, Rapid Hit, Outlaw, Rampage, anything. This doesn't have that, but it does have the intrinsic ability of being cool, which I like a lot. Defiance of Jasmine at number 5. I only say this because the rest are very, very standout weapons, and it is direct competition with every special weapon in the kinetic slot. I don't think it's bad. I just think that with the amount of competition it has, especially with Succession, I keep bringing it up, but Succession is the best kinetic sniper for PvE, it's just okay. For PvP, a lot of people will be ranking this at their top with things like Moving Target and Opening Shot, but I'm telling you, for PvE, it's just not that good. It's not bad, it's just not as good as everything else. And then we have my boy Quillam's. It's a machine gun. What did you expect? Machine guns are purely for ad clear, and if I wanted ad clear, I would just use Doom of Chelchis with Firefly Dragonfly. And that's the list. Now, you guys can tell me whether I'm wrong or right. Either way, that's the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to leave a like and or dislike if you feel so inclined to do so. And if you want to keep up to date with the stuff that I post, try to hit that subscribe button. I post every single week, and I do my best to make that work. So anyways, that'll be all from me. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.